TV Land is an American basic cable and satellite television channel that is owned by Viacom Music and Entertainment Group, a unit of the Viacom Media Networks division of Viacom. Originally consisting exclusively of classic television shows, the channel now airs a combination of recent and classic television series, original scripted series, and limited theatrically released movies. The network is headquartered at One Astor Plaza in New York City. As of February 2015, TV Land is available to approximately 92.5 million pay television households in the United States. History, launch and debut. TV Land launched on April 29, 1996. As a 24-hour offshoot of Nickelodeon's successful nighttime classic television block Nick at Night, which debuted in July 1985. Until the end of 1996, it was branded as Nick at Night TV Land to provide reassurance to new viewers of who was behind the channel. The network initially featured a mix of a classic and short-lived television series from the 1950s through the 1980s, many of which came from the Paramount Television Library, which was owned at the time by network parent Viacom as a result of its 1994 purchase of Paramount Pictures, including situation comedies, dramas and variety series. The phrase TV Land was originally coined on the 1960s animated series The Rocky and Bullwinkle Show, in which Bullwinkle often introduced his Bullwinkle's Corner segments with the greeting, "Hello out there in TV Land." A soundbite of Bullwinkle's phrase was occasionally used in TV Land's on-air promotions. The phrase was then used by Nick at Night in the 1980s as the name of the fictional place where the channel received its classic programming block, and was utilized in slogans such as "Nick at Night, hello out there from TV Land" for much of that decade. However, Nick at Night quit using the term in its own branding campaigns in September 1997, 17 months after the TV Land network launched. In order to prevent viewers from confusing the two separate channels, programs featured on the network during its inaugural year included Hill Street Blues, Saint Elsewhere, The Ed Sullivan Show, Gunsmoke, and The Honeymooners. TV Land also initially ran a block of detective series every Saturday, including Honey West Dog and Cat, Burke's Law, the 1981 Nero Wolfe series, and Ace Crawford, Private Eye. The channel also ran a block of westerns that aired on the network for several years called TV Land Goes West, which featured shows such as Shane, Barbary Coast, Have Guns, Will Travel, and Best of the West. It also aired two comedy blocks, Hooterville Saturday, featuring episodes of Petticoat Junction and Green Acres, and Sunday in the Barracks, featuring military-themed sitcoms The Phil Silvers Show and Hogan's Heroes. Although the channel launched during a time when retransmission consent was becoming more common amongst cable networks and broadcast television stations nationwide due to a provision in the 1992 Cable Act, MTV Networks chose to offer TV Land to cable providers for free for its 5 years of operation, as long as they added the channel to their expanded basic tiers during the 1996 calendar year. Likewise, USSB, then one of two services that used the DirecTV satellite, offered TV Land as a free channel to USSB and DirecTV satellite users, without requiring a subscription, for its first years on air. Shortly after TV Land's debut, MCA filed a lawsuit against Viacom, because MCA's original agreement with Paramount Pictures to operate a USA network prohibited either partner from operating other cable networks outside the joint venture. Viacom had been in breach of contract ever since the company bought Paramount in 1994, because it had operated MTV Networks since its founding in 1983, and Showtime Networks since it was founded in 1985. MCA claimed that the intention of TV Land was to compete directly with USA. Viacom claimed that the matter had already been settled when Sumner Redstone released Frank Biondi from his contract to let him work at MCA. The suit was eventually settled when Viacom agreed to sell its 50% stake in the USA networks to MCA. In 1997, TV Land partnered with TV Guide for a feature in the magazine and a special on the network, ranking the 100 greatest episodes of all time. In 1999, TV Land entered into a deal with Universal Television that allowed the channel to cherry-pick from a variety of series including Emergency, Kojak, and The Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew Mysteries. In February 1999, according to Nielsen ratings data, TV Land averaged a 1.0 share during prime time, tying ESPN for 10th place among all cable networks. Its siblings, MTV and VH1, respectively tied for 17th and 26th place. Columnist John Dempsey reported in Variety that February rating put TV Land into the top 10 for the first time since it began operating, and opened the eyes of the cable industry to the rich vein of golden oldie TV shows that distributors are mining for an audience of nostalgia buffs and kids who are stumbling across the series for the first time. In the early 2000s, TV Land aired special program blocks on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. The final day of the year revolved around series finales of classic television series, and the first day of the new year exclusively featured pilot episodes. On January 1, 2001, the network introduced a streamlined logo, which traded the unevenness of the original design for a more rigid form, and restricted the wedge serif type to the TV, and the sans serif type to the land in the logo. TV Land celebrated its 10th anniversary on April 29, 2006. On December 17, 2006, MTV Networks began operating TV Land as part of its Kids and Family Group unit, with Nickelodeon taking over operational duties for Nick at Night, which in turn had previously maintained oversight of TV Land since its launch. The network's original continuity announcer was DJ Dan Ingram. Ingram was replaced by Harry Shearer, who served as the primary announcer for the network's promotions from 2001 to 2010. In 2008, TV Land added a 3-hour block of infomercials to its morning lineup, airing Monday through Fridays from 6:00 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. As such, TV Land became only the fourth cable channel operated by Viacom and its MTV Networks division to air infomercials. TV Land removed 1 hour of the infomercial block in May 2010, reducing it to 6:00 to 8 a.m., with reruns filling the 8 a.m. hour. Original programming efforts. In 2007, the network began adding series from the latter part of the 1980s and on in an effort to attract viewers in the 18 to 49 age demographic favored by advertisers. As such, TV Land no longer labels itself as a classic TV network. The network began airing its first original programs in 2008 with the reality series High School Reunion and She's Got the Look. Accompanying this strategy was a refresh of the network's graphic identity, which was designed and conceived by Trollback Plus Company, who also developed its 2000 to 2008 graphical identity. From October 2008 to 2011, the network ran a late evening block that aired weeknights from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time, called TV Land Prime, which depending on the night featured the network's original series, movies or newer archive programming that TV Land was airing at the time. The block utilized drastically different brand imaging than that otherwise featured the network. The dot logo accompanying the Prime logo was replaced by TV Land's standard logo in November 2009. Some programs featured in the block incorporated the TV Land Prime bug when aired in other time slots. On November 23, 2009, the network changed its logo to a more simplified form, keeping the double trapezoidal outline, but removing the outlines around each letter and simplifying the fonts. An overhauled logo was introduced on May 8, 2012, which not only features a revised design and different typeface, but also sets the land part of the name to the adjacent right of the TV moniker. Since 2009, TV Land has also added more recent series from the 1990s and 2000s, such as those already or formerly aired on Nick at 9 like The Cosby Show, Roseanne, Who's the Boss, The Nanny, and Friends, and shows that had not aired its former parent network like Murphy Brown, The Golden Girls, Everybody Loves Raymond, Sex and the City, and The King of Queens. However, the network continues to air series from older decades throughout its schedule, mainly during the daytime and overnight hours. The network's scheduling is often not bound to the strictness of half-hour time slots outside of prime time, with programming airing in expanded time slots to allow more advertising to be sold, though in most cases, the series on TV Land continue to use the syndication cut, rather than the original network airing cut of an episode. The network first forayed into original scripted programming in 2010 with the debut of the sitcom Hot in Cleveland, which premiered in June 2010 to 4.75 million viewers, a record audience for the channel. This was followed by the January 19, 2011 debut of Retired at 35. 2011 saw the expansion of its original sitcoms with the June 15 debut of the Fran Drescher comedy Happily Divorced and the November 30 debut of The Exes. 2013 and 2014 also saw the debuts of Kirsty and Jennifer Falls starring Jamie Presley. Shift of programming focus to Generation X audiences. The network began to transition away from the original double trapezoid imaging in March 2015, when the new Sutton Foster series Younger was launched without either traditional TV Land branding or advertising, choosing instead to go with a different imaging campaign to the point that TV Land was merely shown in regular text on screen during the series to differentiate it from the rest of the network's schedule. After Memorial Day and the series finale of Hot in Cleveland, a new simple, ribbon effect, network logo was unveiled to go with the campaigns for the network's new original series Imposter and the Jim Gaffigan Show, and more of a focus on Generation X viewers who grew into the network's demographic. An implicit admission that its sub-channel classic television competitors are more designed for the generation of viewers TV Land started with. The network officially announced the introduction of the rebranding on June 23, 2015, completing the shift to edgier, single-camera programming. TV Land announced on July 28 that the upcoming fifth season of the multi-camera sitcom The Soul Man would be its last. Less than 2 weeks later, on August 10, TV Land's last remaining multi-camera sitcom The Exes was cancelled as its fourth season was still airing, with the announcement that the final episode would air September 16. Currently though, the network's morning and afternoon blocks of classic television will continue under the TV Land Classic branding, which will continue to feature a version of the double trapezoid logo, creating a setup equivalent to FXM, where that network's older movie content under its former branding of Fox Movie Channel is branded under the FXM Retro banner. Programming. TV Land's programming originally focused on series from the 1950s to the early 1980s. During its early years, the channel's lineup prominently featured variety series and dramas. Many of its charter shows such as The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour and The Ed Sullivan Show were dropped from the lineup by the late 1990s. It also ran many sitcoms from the 1960s and 1970s, particularly series from filmways that were produced prior to the rural purge of the late 1960s. Early on, TV Land would often air weekend marathons that were devoted to a single program. Since the network's inception, westerns have also been a prominent part of the lineup. The channel also aired classic commercials during its breaks for several years, under the banner TV Land Retromercials. Among those featured were Alka-Seltz's Mamma Mia, That's a Spicy Meatball, Danins in Soviet Georgia, and the animated Tootsie Pop ad. Some of these retromercials included early roles of celebrities such as Judd Hirsch, Rene Russo, Roy Scheider and Jodie Foster. Interspersed with the classic commercials were fictional retro-style commercials for various substances, almost always using the brand TWIP. These, along with the classic commercials, were dropped by 2004. The network also ran segments of CBS News in the news from the 1970s and 1980s during breaks. From 1996 to 1998, the channel ran a series of original shorts called 60-second sitcoms, minute-long parodies of sitcoms from various eras which also contained fake opening and end credits, and concluded with a "This has been a TV Land presentation" vanity card. Among the parodies included in the shorts were The Gaveltons and Spin and Cutter. Each of the series had several segments and alternated with the retromercials. When a program deemed particularly important was airing on another network, such as the series finales of Friends in 2004 and Everybody Loves Raymond in 2005, TV Land aired filler programming that was nonsensical in nature to encourage viewers to watch the network program. Similarly, the network went dark during the 1998 series finale of Seinfeld. In November 2014, amid growing allegations of sexual assault against Bill Cosby, the network announced that it was removing reruns of The Cosby Show from its lineup, and deleted all references of the series from its website. A marathon of episodes from the series that had been scheduled for Thanksgiving was also cancelled. In its place was the network's first ever game show acquisition, a collection of episodes from the current Steve Harvey run of Family Feud. TV Land Awards. The TV Land Awards is a 2-hour event that has been held annually since its inception in 2003 that in past years was broadcast live on the network to the Eastern and Central time zones, but is currently taped a week in advance. The awards telecast celebrates past classic television series and television stars. From the inaugural show in 2003 until 2007, the TV Land Awards were also simulcast on Nick at Night. TV Land HD. TV Land HD is a high-definition simulcast feed of TV Land, which broadcasts in the 1080i resolution format. It launched in November 2011. It is currently available on cable and IPTV providers such as AT&T UVerse, Verizon Fios, Cablevision and Charter Communications in select areas, and nationally on satellite provider DirecTV. Classic programming which does not use prints remastered for high-definition widescreen presentation are presented on the HD feed in their original 4:3 aspect ratio. TV Land statues of TV icons. Since the early 2000s, TV Land has honored iconic actors and television characters from classic television series with statues in various tourist attractions across the United States, International, Canada. On 2001, Craig Media launched a Category 2 digital cable and satellite specialty channel called TV Land Canada, through a brand licensing agreement with Viacom. On August 2, 2010, TV Land was rebranded as Comedy Gold, reformatting the channel as an offshoot of the Comedy Network. The rebranded channel focuses primarily on sitcoms and sketch comedy programs from the 1970s to the 1990s. Viacom sold back its stake in the channel to CTV Globe Media following the rebrand. Middle East. A TV Land channel was launched in Arabia in 1996, months after the launch of the US service. However, it mostly focused more on sports and action than classic television series. TV Land Arabia shared channel space with Paramount Arabia on cable provider Gulf DTH. Both TV Land Arabia and Paramount Arabia ceased operations in 2000.